Well, hello and welcome to the wrap, the show rounding up all things Zwift. We're talking racing, events, tech, fashion, you name it. I'm Nathan Guerra, and Russell is sat next to me. I'm in the USA. She is in New Zealand, and it is Saturday for her, early morning. I think she gets up at 5 a.m. for this one, or she gets up at 6 and rushes directly to coffee and a quick little hairdo, most likely. Today is, for me, June 14th, 2024. And today we got an awesome show for you. This is episode number 94. We're going to be talking about the new Zwift Ride. We're going to be talking about the grade and the new routes. We've got a jersey pick of the week, which is the EZR kit. It's looking pretty sweet. We're going to definitely be focusing in on, for not just this episode, but most of the Northern Hemisphere summer. We're getting a lot of Zwifters in the wild. Hashtag, make sure to be using that one because we've got at least 4, maybe even 5 submissions, including our guest today, which is Pookie Butt from Twitch, Aaron Shoemaker. You'll know him if you watch any Twitch streams of Zwifting at all. One of the higher production for sure, and one of the funnest guys to watch, in my opinion. We got him on for some Unbound content. We've got other riders, Zwifters, that have done Unbound Unbound as well that we will be chatting about. Tour of America's Dairyland is going on as well. And we've got Zwifters there. We're there every day for the next 10 days. Yesterday was the first day. So lots going on. But as usual, right from the get-go, we're going to talk about what we've been up to for the last week or two. Real quick housekeeping. Every 2 weeks, we are live throughout the Northern Hemisphere summer, just as a heads up. So it's been 2 weeks since we chatted. Anna, what you been up to?
It feels like a long time. I'm out of my sling, which I'm stoked about. Saw the surgeon this week and I can take the sling off and start doing stuff with my arm. So it's good. Still can't lift anything for another couple of months, but at least I can move it. And I've been doing a lot of Zone 2 on Zwift. I attempted to get out of Zone 2 and to do a race and then got promptly dropped pretty quick. So I've decided to stick with Zone 2. But it's actually been quite enjoyable. I've been doing... like I said, I really like the My List functionality. So I've kind of gone through and I wrote like the My List of all the Zone 2 ones. And now I'm working up. So there's a bit of Zone 3 mixed in too. So yeah, a lot of workouts. And the TTT yesterday we did. There was a weird WTRL bug though, where our two teams who ride at quite different paces got put together on the same line in the pen.
Wait, what?
So that was interesting.
I've never heard of that before.
I know. It was really, and I was like, oh, maybe I posted the same link to both teams, but I checked and I didn't. And the teams are like in the results separate, but we were all lined up together. So it was really weird. So anyway, not sure what happened there, but it was a fun.
That's one I've never heard of before, actually, which, we're pretty up on the bugs. So, I'm going to have to take that one up. So you were all on the same line and then you all went out at the same time, or did you go out at separate times?
No, same time, but we're two separate teams. So yeah, I don't know, maybe Zwift update and buggy things happening there. It was fun. 3 laps of Innsbruck. Good times. It was actually, I feel like the TTT, every time I do it now, there's quite a few teams out there. So I don't know if we're in a more popular time or it's just there's more people doing it. But it's a lot of fun to do it every week. And that's probably me. Like still no outdoor riding for a few months. So mostly Zwift.
What have I been up to? Mainly, I've been riding a lot of Zone 2 like you. I actually raced yesterday on a Z racing race, which was pretty fun. That Z racing, the Sea Breeze, we were on the Island Hopper, and it was pretty tactical with the power-ups that they put in, actually. The Steamroller alongside the drafting power-up, and the Island Hopper, definitely, that course... is in McCurry. It's part of the McCurry Islands expansion in Umezi. That one has enough dirt in it with that, that corkscrew climb that's a dirt climb. And then also, you also have another kind of dirt section that's off in this little woods section. And so you have to use the steamroller and then also the finish actually. So there's 3 dirt sections. And pretty strong crew. Brandlin was there, which is a top esports racer. But I guess he was doing heat training. So when we dropped him on the corkscrew, I was very confused because I used my steamroller on the corkscrew and was like, okay, this is the go time. And I gave it. 2 or 3 came with, and then why isn't Brandlin there? That dude can ride. What's going on? And I started chatting afterwards, high average for how much we've been working, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, I'm heat training. I was like, oh my gosh, how are you over 3.0 watts per kilogram? Because if you're doing heat training, my heart rate, if I'm over Zone 2, if I'm doing it right, and I'm over Zone 2 power, my heart rate is max. Your heart rate just goes nuts during doing it. And he was like, yeah, 100%. That's where I'm at. So, it was a good little race. And outside of that, mainly Zone 2 and really a lot of prep for Tour of America's Dairyland. That's been our main focus. So, my mind on my training is, maintenance. But, okay, quick. I've had short amounts of time with the amount of work that I've been doing. And so I'm getting into, work dad mode. I have 1 hour. What do I do? I have an hour and a half. What do I do? Right. And so I get done with the day or whatever. And I get on my mountain bike cause that's all I can ride with this back issue still, whatever. I hope that goes away, but boom, hit the road. I'm immediately I need to get the most out of this workout as I possibly can. There's only an hour. And I'm just in this, what I'm calling progressive SST workouts. And so, or just straight, almost threshold workouts essentially. And it ain't bad though. I'm kind of pressing myself actually. I did, I think, almost 5 watts per kilogram both times, 4.5 on the progressive SST. So this workout that it's essentially like it's a negative split on your average power. That's what I'm doing. So like,
Okay.
I started like zone 1, zone 2 warming up, and then you never can come under your average power, continually rising, and you try and manage the effort so that it ends perfectly at whatever the time is without lowering your average power all the way through. So it becomes, you're always kind of pressing the needle all the way till the end of this, and you're not allowed to drop average power. If you do, your interval is over and you have to like start over. I don't know. I'm making up rules as I go, right? But like, I'm kind of making up rules as I go. But imagine, like, I ended up at a 307 average on the first time I did this progressive SST over an hour and 10 minute of riding. Like, at the end of that, you're pushing freaking crazy. You see what I'm saying? Because it's a great little way of like essentially doing a different way to TT, but against like a somewhat random time. You know what I mean? So it's always changing. It's a cool game I play with average power. I kind of learned that when I was first doing peak power for zone 2 5-hour rides. Like, what can I do with this? And I kind of learned that if you start too high, you end up doing no watts at the end of those. So I ended up like learning how to negative split over 5 hours a lot better. Anyways, so that's what I've been up to, is those two things mainly. So let's go ahead and move right on into, okay, we have to give a couple of like shout outs to our community members that mean a lot to everyone in the community. First and foremost, if you missed it, from ZK, Christopher Schwenker, has had, it looked like, heart surgery, and we just want to like a good well to him 100%. He's been on the podcast. We've been on his, we are all a part of a family that loves virtual cycling and wants to grow it. And I just wanted to say, but all of us here at Zwift Community Live, get well, man, and keep fighting there. And then another one, and like this one, like I felt a lot of grief about this one, especially because this is somebody also who means a lot to us and our like the Zwift team family, from WLC, Adam Thorpe and Zoe Langham. Just that Adam had a horrible crash with the vehicle and was fighting for his life, and we want to give as much thoughts and prayers and just good energy toward Zoe and Adam right now, because we don't want to lose him at all. So just definitely feeling that one. Me and Gabby had like a pretty good lot of grief, actually, just hearing that. And just that everybody in the community, it's something that's also really cool about the Zwift community. On the other side of it is that how much we all kind of care about each other and how real this all is. It's not just a game, kind of a thing, you know what I mean? And a lot of people, I think, are pulling for Adam right now. So if the community just, if you just in any way you can send shout outs or whatever. I see Zoe, sharing a lot of the stories as well as, and it looks like he's coming, like he's breathing on his own. He was on a breathing tube and he's breathing on his own now, which is a big step forward. They didn't know that they would get there. So, shout out to Adam and Zoe.
Yeah. Thanks, Nathan. I won't say anything more on that.
100%. So, all right. So next up, though, let's get right on into, I think, the biggest news of the week, a lot from Zwift updates or Zwift content goes, the Zwift Ride. Like, did you see this coming?
Is this the biggest news of Zwift's existence? Do you think? Do we go that high?
I don't know about that. Really?
What else? What would be bigger?
Okay, so depending on how you see Zwift, right? So it's depending on how you see Zwift. The first thing that comes to my mind is World Championships, but I'm a racer. Like, I race Zwift. I like racing. You know what I mean? Which I don't necessarily, as far as like, I think, so for me, I think that the biggest news for Zwift in the history of Zwift is it being a unicorn company. Like, that's what I think being the biggest. Okay, like, that's what I would say. Like, what would you say Facebook's biggest? Well, Facebook's biggest thing is it's Facebook. You know what I mean? What would you say Instagram's biggest?
So probably Zwift's biggest thing is when they came out of beta and
and just took cycling online. Like, I think that's kind of so. But it's a good point though, as far as changing the conversation almost in some ways. So go ahead.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? You seemed really excited about this one, so I kind of want to let you lead.
Yeah, so I'm super excited about the bike. And I know that I've had a chat with, like Jen and our, because she basically messaged our manager's chat and was like, this is the biggest waste of money. Why would they even do this? Like, it's just this hunk of metal. And I was like, I don't think I could disagree anymore. So we kind of like teased it out a little bit as to what each of our opinions were. So I think this suits a certain group of people, and anyone kind of who it doesn't suit are just like, this is why would you even have that? Because the big thing that she was saying was like, just go buy a cheap road bike and put it on a trainer. It's basically the same thing. And I'm like, so here are the reasons I just love this, is that we've been on a like smart bike journey, because I was like, I really want a smart bike. Like I'm sick of like looking after my chain. I don't actually really like use this road bike much on the road now that I have my gravel bike, and it's just older, and like, it's just, it's kind of like I either need to upgrade the bike or get a smart bike. But I trialed a smart bike. I had the Wahoo Shift here for a while, and there were just a few things that I was like, oh, I don't want to fork out this amount of money. So in New Zealand, it's like 5,000 New Zealand dollars for a Wahoo Shift, which is like the lowest smart bike you can get. Now, there are a few things. Like one, it didn't have race mode. So that was kind of a bit annoying. Also, like, we go on family holidays every summer and I take my trainer with me. I'm not going to be able to like go take a smart bike, like I can't chuck that in the car. It's not very easy. Also, I just had this fear of like, say something goes wrong on my road bike, I can just take it to the shop. If something goes wrong on a smart bike, like the process of actually getting it anywhere for someone to fix it just seems like an absolute nightmare because they're so big, right?
Huh. That's a really good
point.
I didn't think of that one. That one is a really good point. Huh.
Yeah, when you've spent a lot of money, and you know what it's like, if you're like, we are indoor all the time. If there's a weird creaky noise, you just can't ride it. It's like unrideable because you're like, and this is so annoying, and it's in my head and it's like echoing in the room. So there are a few things. And the other one is my kids are getting older. The kids are getting really into bike riding now. So I want to be able to have one thing that everyone in the family can fit. So a smart bike ticks that box, but all the other things made me not want to spend the money and actually get it. And I also had because I mostly just use Zwift, sometimes Indie Velo, but I also had the big risk of like, what if Wahoo and Zwift divorce again? And the smart bike that I just spent a ton of money on now doesn't have the features I need it to have to work with Zwift. I've literally just left with nothing, right? So that was kind of my decision point. And I and a couple of people very lovingly in the know sent me a message and said, don't fork out the money for a smart bike yet. Just leave it a couple of months and see what happens. I was like, okay. So I left it, and this came out. I was like, this has actually ticked every box. Like, it's inexpensive. Like, I'm not going to buy the hub because I've already got a trainer and I really like my V6. But when this comes out as a standalone purchase, yeah, like absolutely. It's got integrated like plays. It like looks really nice. Like at some point, the suffer room I have downstairs will probably be a kid's bedroom, and this will go up into a different room where I want it to look nice, like not leave bike grease everywhere and just, like it just looks aesthetically pleasing. And I can take it off and take the trainer with me other places. If my athletes come around and want to like try out Zwift, or I can give them some sessions, I can adjust it super easy. We don't have to like take my bike off, put their bike on. So it's good from like a coaching business point of view, and the kids can fit it. And yeah, like I've got to say, like the price point, like for me in New Zealand, I think it'll end up being, when it's not with the trainer, about like 1,300 New Zealand, I think. Don't quote me on it because I just kind of did some rough calcs. But 1,300 New Zealand versus 5,000, like it's a no-brainer. And yes, like Jen said, I could go out and buy a road bike, but a road bike still, if I bought a $500 road bike, it's going to be this hunk of shit that when I put on the trainer, it's going to creak, the cassettes will be terrible and worn, the gearing won't work properly, whereas this is just sleek, nice, and works. So for me, it's like tick, tick, tick.
Those are really, really good points. And look, I'm going to try and play devil's advocate just a little bit, but it's hard for me because I am this market too, like 100%, where this is the underlying root, I think, of this is like the in between in every single way that to tick every box that if you're looking for this specific kind of solution. The whole idea of like reducing friction as much as Zwift could. When you use the word friction, a lot of time for the last, early days of podcasting about Zwift, this word friction kept on coming up. And when we use that word friction for the market, is like, how complicated is it to get into Zwifting, right? And so how can we lower that as much as possible? I think this is the good step forward. There's something in the back, and so like, you still though have there's one friction point here that I want to talk about, because in my head, if you're going after Peloton crew, you're going after gym, bro crew, if you're going after the person who's just looking to get their workouts in and more of a mass market, you still have some of the onboarding that's a little bit difficult. You know what I mean? Like you still have like the trainer, the pairing, and you can't put a Zwift Ride necessarily into a gym, right? Like I would like right away, as soon as I saw this, like, oh, are we going to be able to see like Zwift at gyms now? And I was like, oh, wait, no, you have to put an iPad there still. Someone still has to log in. You got to pair the device. And it's like, well, I guess you could set up like a gym account on a Zwift Ride there. So maybe you could do that. And that would be some onboarding. Cause like, honestly, when I was at Zwift Week, I went to go work out in the gym there, and they had a Peloton there. And I was like, oh man, like, and I knew that Zwift Ride was coming. I was like, oh, what if this was a Zwift Ride? Like, I didn't use the Peloton. I got off of the Peloton and went and used another bike because they wanted me to like log in and pay for an account immediately and all this different kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, well, I'm just not going to use this. I'm going to go do something else. And I know how to like, and I ended up using just like a little tiny like kilojoule computer on like a old school spinner bike or something, right? But I got my workout in, right? But so I'm trying to like transfer that over to an onboarding idea, and like I think this gets us closer. I think it definitely gets us closer, and I hope to see Zwift Rides in that kind of a setting. You know what I mean? Or at least heading that way. And I'm kind of like, oh man, would it have been too much? And obviously it would have been. Too much of an ask, too much of a overhead price, just to go all in on that original bike. The like where you plug and play.
Tron.
Yeah, the Tron or whatever. And I'm assuming that had the ability to just like push the button, you're in Zwift, start pedaling. You know what I mean? Like, and so I think there's a little bit there where,
but it would have been
too
expensive. It would have been too expensive as well. This is the
like I said, the in between. It's the in between, right? Yeah.
Like I want to get a feel for all of the like Wahoo. Well, at the moment Wahoo, because I think that's the one it's compatible with coming out. Is like all the Wahoo direct drive trainer owners out there. Would they be getting this? Like, because I am like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't see a reason not to. There's a couple of little tweaks, like the crank arms would be better if they're like adjustable, like bear claw kind of ones. But I kind of see that as pretty minor. Like, I don't think that would be too hard to just sort of put on. But yeah, I still, though, if we go into that sort of devil's advocate mode, I still don't think this is a mass market thing. I think this is an awesome upgrade for people who have got a direct drive trainer and like me really want a smart bike and all the benefits of that, but don't want to pay the money for that. Because I think about my parents, so I'll go with like other mass market people. I don't see them getting this. They'll still use their Snap wheel on with like an old mountain bike because I don't think they could really care less about buttons on a handlebar. Like I just showed them.
It's like a play option. It's like a play hardware. Like you get plays because you Zwift. Like this is kind of, and this is why I'm like, yeah, I really would like this because I'm done putting my bike even on and off with the cog. Like it's simple, but something that's just there and in place. Now there are some feedbacks I am seeing, and this is the main thing that I am seeing. Like, you know, the lack of crate options people bring up a lot. I do see that. The inability of working with other platforms or across platforms. How many trainer companies are going to actually integrate with virtual shifting too is another question, right? So like you kind of have to go down the Wahoo, you know, product line at the moment, you know, and so that's that's where I'm like, yeah, this is definitely for a very specific part of the market, it seems like, but can get to where it's going to go more mass perhaps in the future. You know, there's a lot of like integrations that seem to have to happen though across all of the trainer companies, you know, and then seeing these on local bike shop floors might, you know, that might then increase this option out there.
I think the point you made at the start too, like I think if they get into gyms, this makes this product feasible from a financial point of view, I think, because I think there's a bunch of me's out there who'll be like, oh, this is great. I get to upgrade my current gear, but I'm already on Zwift. Like I'll buy some product off them, but I'm not exactly like shifting the dial for them. Right. And so I think, yeah, if there could be mass purchases into gyms, and like you said, you have a gym subscription or something where everyone rides together up on a big screen, that would be awesome. And I think that would also go for like spin classes, you know, like our club has a spin class, you know, that you could do that. So I think that's going to be, do you reckon that's maybe where they think they want to head? Because a lot of their imagery is around people in a really nice looking living room, right? So it definitely seems like they're going with the more, this is for your family living room space.
That is so okay. Let's speak to that. Like one Zwift Ride for the whole family. Like we're not swapping bikes anymore. You just make quick switches. Yeah. And that is definitely in their minds because you've got that little, you don't even have to bring your hex key. The key is actually in the bike. It's on the frame. Yeah. So all adjustments are made with a hex key that is on the frame. It's underneath the frame. Pull it off and just make all of your adjustments. And the adjustments go forward and backwards. You got a little place for your phone, a place for an iPad if you want. You know, the adjusting too, when I wrote it, they actually had a little card that if you were a certain height, you could just like go all, it was like, it would put you at like A, B, or C or something. Like there was like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And if you were G, you just put everything to G. And it was like bam, 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 bam. And you just were on and good to go. So they're trying to like simplify that cross user thing as well. Right. I think that's
Yeah, I think that's really awesome. I could see that working. Like, again, I'll look at my parents that they would fill that out and then just change it with each person that comes on. I think like talking about the little things on this that I really like is, one is that little magnetic Allen key that just kind of tucks away. The other is the badge, like the metal badge that you can unclip.
You can kind of see it on the front there. You can kind of see it right here on the front.
It is so cool, like, you know, that you could actually get your badges based on what you're doing in the game and kind of swap them in and out. Like, I just think that's really.
Are you
really
seeing
cool.
the Scotty the Squirrel in this picture?
Cute.
I missed that until just now. They actually put a Scotty the Squirrel in their commercial. Like,
oh my gosh, that's
awesome.
Really attention to cool. detail.
Seriously.
The other thing I quite liked is that the drink bottle holders are just like really shallow, which obviously wouldn't work out on the road, obviously, because it's not going to go on the road, but it's perfect for indoor because you don't have to do the whole pull. It's just like right there and ready to grab. So like little details like that. And I really liked the little jockey wheel that you can kind of clip the chain out so that when you take it off, the chain doesn't hit your carpet. So it's all those little things they've thought about that I think just, I don't know, it's been very well engineered in my opinion. I haven't ridden one, so I can't tell you how it feels riding it, but just looking at it, that's kind of what I mean by the aesthetically pleasing.
The front, I thought that front, like that comment about that front single post thing, like, oh, that looks really, no, it was super stable. Like, and if you think about it, your front wheel is the same thing. It's just the one, you know what I mean? Like, so, you know, and this is actually a big metal piece of, you know, metal. Like, okay, it's like, it was pretty stiff. I didn't have any problems with, if anything, put it on a kicker or like a V6 because the only thing that might be rocking is going to be the core that already rocks no matter what bike you're on. Like as far as for me, I ride the core a lot right now because I put my mountain bike on the core, with virtual shifting. And when I really give, that thing, rocks a whole bunch. So I really can't wait because I have a V5. I don't have a 6 right now. I can't wait for virtual shifting and the ability to put like cog on there down the road, because that's kind of like the ultimate, like if you really want to like, it's not the ride. It's not going to be the ride. It's going to be what trainer as far as stability goes, because the ride's stable for sure.
Yeah, it's so funny because I looked as well. I was like, oh, wow, a single fork at the front. What the? And then I saw the comment of like, I was reading through people's comments saying like, what do you think your wheel is at the front? It's even narrower and on a rubber spongy thing, like the wheel part. I was like, yeah. Like, why didn't I think of that? That like a wheel is probably more unstable and twists and turns. So yeah, once I saw that, I was like, oh, why did I think that? Like, it's so funny, but such a, again, a really nice, sleek design. I think the reason too this is in my head is like we're doing a house extension at the moment, and there's a little space that I have earmarked as like where I would put our trainer space when this room gets freed up. And I'm like, oh, that just looks so much nicer. Like that'll just fit in there so well and look very pretty and not, like this, like even like the Wahoo shift that was here. Every time I walked downstairs and opened the door, I was like, holy, this is massive. Like huge flywheel and just like this hunk of gym equipment, basically.
That's a good point too. That is a really good point, that you're getting all of that from a smart bike, but you're not taking up this massive, like you can put it away easier too. Like stuff, if you need to stuff it away, because it's not just this huge all-in-one thing. Yeah, you're selling me even more at this point. Well, like, and Gabby did a morning ride, like a recovery ride before racing tonight, and like she put her bike on and the shifting wasn't exactly the same because we have two different rear cogs for her shifting, and she's like, oh, I have to adjust my shifting again so it shifts right on Zwift, and just the back and forth. I can't get over that one. Like, this is such a solution to just not keep putting a bike on over and over again. Like, it's just be able to just leave it. So it's cool. I think though it's definitely aimed directly at current Zwifters, which I don't know if that was the messaging that I was getting from the expectations though at Zwift. So we'll see how it goes though. We'll see how it goes. I wonder if it will lower friction in ways that I'm not currently seeing. Maybe I don't understand that part.
Yeah, I saw Carsten put a good point in that using Matthew van der Poel in the advertising could put it out to a bit of a big market, because they look at it and they go, what's that? Like it's one of those good things where it's so different looking that you'd take a second and you'd go, what is that? Oh,
yeah, that got me too. It is like, wow. I think they did that on purpose, actually, in the branding and in the way that it stands out. When they first launched it, it was kind of like that looks different than anything else I've ever seen. So, and Zwift have always been like that with their, once they got Big Z, it's always kind of been like, stand out. What is this? This is different, So,
yeah.
Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to the grade. What do you think about the grade and the new routes quickly? We talked a little bit about it before. I did my test on the grade. Did you watch that? Did you see any of that stream?
Yeah, I did. So I watched it. It seems so masochistic, like watching someone doing FTP tests, and especially a husband and a wife. I don't know what it was about that, but I was like, oh man, like imagine streaming my husband and I doing an FTP test. It'd be terrible. But so I'm going to Everest it, I think in July. And so I was watching.
The first thing Anna goes to, she's like, I'm going to Everest this. That is what I'm going to do. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I was watching it to see what the elevation was at the end. So that when you guys got to the top, I calculated that it'll be 27 laps. And then I looked at Eric's time up there and added a couple of minutes and worked out it'll take about 8 hours. So I think that's the reason I watched it. But tell me, like, what like, what was it like? I think for you, the FTP was relatively close to
Spot
what you
on.
thought.
It was exact.
Yeah. Okay.
It was,
Right. Okay.
so it was exactly what I had from a 20-minute test. So, I mean, 335. I was like, well, if it gives me 335, that's what my FTP is. And we went to the top. But this is the crazy thing. The faster you go, the more watts you put out, and the faster you go, the more percentage it takes off, right? So I was like, I'm almost like 380s, like 390s. This is awesome. And you're thinking you're going to have this really high FTP, and then it like cuts like 50 watts off. And you're like, oh man, but I mean, that if you're after FTP, it's great. So if you didn't know, you didn't watch the live stream back, that we do have a live stream on Zwift Community Live. It was myself, Eric Shangy, and Gabriella all did a little warm up. Which I think, the other thing that's kind of cool is like, there's a place that everybody can go, because, before it was just all about 20-minute test up to the top of Watopia Mountain for me, or like finding an area that I could do these tests. We even had like that Three Sisters test for a while to kind of figure out what your numbers were and things. So like this idea of segment testing has been around since Zwift like came out. Like I would try and see how my 12-minute power, 13-minute power was on hilly Watopia and try and get the best times I possibly could just on that one loop when it first came out. So like segment testing, definitely a thing. I think they took that idea, put it in game. And, I just really like it that I logged into the game the other day and I see like, I don't know, there was probably 100 people on it, like going up and down. And how many people were actually pushing for an FTP? I think most of them are just kind of checking it out. But then once in a while, you'll see one. They'd be like, that person's going for it. And they're going to get a grade that they care about at the top. And I think that's cool, that the ability to be like, you're going to start seeing people instead of like wondering, or there's no question about it then, kind of. You know what I mean? Like, because like when you're on the Watopia Mountain, you're like, someone's kind of going hard and you're like, well, cool, you're going hard. But like now that the grade is there, you can be like, go, come on, you got a grade at the top. You know what I mean? You can ask them when they're done and that whole thing.
Yeah, I like it. And when you get to because I only got the update yesterday afternoon, so I haven't been on, but I've heard some chat that when you get to the top and where it intersects with the epic climb, that the epic climb has totally changed at the top. Like there's no rollers or anything anymore.
Yeah, they changed. Yeah. And so they changed the left. So if you were when you get to the top and you take a left there, the bridge is still there, I believe, but they kind of changed some of that section and they put like a lake there, I think, or something like, and so, yeah, I took a look at it a little bit prior to release, but I haven't ridden it yet. So I have to take to actually get a really deeper look into it. But they definitely changed things up, because the reason they said that was because this was some of the oldest artwork that they had done. So they needed to update it essentially. So they're like, all right, well, let's update this. And I was like, oh, is this going to change the segment times? I asked for Watopia Mountain Climb, right? They're like, oh, and the designer was like, I don't know. And I was like, I think this is going to change segment times. Yeah. I think this is going to be a little different now. So I wonder if the KOMs will change. I have to ask Eric Shangy from Insider if it changed at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because I watched Llama's video on it, and he said that. He was like, oh, this bit is slower. Like something there was slower. And I was like, ooh, okay. So, because a few people are like, I love that climb. And I'm like, I love it. And it'll be great if you can set like a new time on it. Did you ride, when you were doing the grade, many of the new like roads, or were you pretty much
I did the Mayan, the other side. So before that, I had a little bit of early access. So I took the Mayan climb, which that is really, really cool. Like there's this like winding. It also has a segment on it. So it's the one that cuts off at the top of the grade, at the middle waypoint of the grade. That comes from over by the jungle loop, more over by there. So you take the coast further, and then you take a right-hand turn near where you go to jungle. And that one kind of winds and snakes for a while. And it's much lower gradient until you get to the halfway point. And there's a segment over there too. And I think that'll be a fun one for racing.
Cool.
Because because it's not an intense grade, but it's enough that you can press the pace, and so I think people will be a little challenged by that. It's just, and also having another segment, segments are always fun to go after, and it's an easier way to get up to the top of the mountain, because then you can kind of just do this wind, and then you can take a left and then go to the second half of the grade, which, okay, you got to do some switchbacks, but I think that, I hope to see more people up on the top of Watopia Mountain actually, and using those roads, because I think the two ways to get there have kind of kept it from being utilized as much as it could be.
Yeah, and I saw as well that they've put a segment on Radio Tower.
Yeah, and segment on Radio Tower, and they did some more artwork up there as well.
Yeah.
So you should definitely check out.
Can you imagine segment on Radio Tower? That's brutal. You've just done say you've done a race and it's gone up epic climb, and you've got the segment there, and then you take that left, and then you've got to go up radio and another segment. Oh my God. That's full on.
So I think I like it because there's another part to this, and this is a thing in gaming for sure when you play MMOs, is when there's an update to nostalgic areas and they change, but it's something that's kind of familiar. It I don't know, it kind of has this cool, let's go check it out in a different way than just totally new roads. Oh, what did they do to this? I've experienced this before, but it's new at the same time. So it's a familiarity with a new twist, so that always has a different feel to it in a community space. So
I'm pretty pumped. I'm getting on there today to have a look, because I think, it updated for me after my TTT yesterday.
Are you going to test? Are you going to test?
Oh, God, no way. No,
come on, you gotta give it a go. It's not that long.
No, I'll test. I'm away in Europe next week, and then I'll have a good 3 weeks, and then I'll test.
Okay, all right. We're gonna hold her to it. 3 weeks, we get a grade test.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there we go.
Sounds good. Okay. Next up, let's go ahead and do our jersey pick for the week. And this is actually the EZR kit. Now, you spotted this one, or was it, I believe, out on a ride, EZR ride. They actually run group rides mainly. And I had no idea about this group. They have a few thousand members in their community on Facebook, actually. And a sweet looking kit. And, I saw a couple of videos as well of the way that they run their rides, and it seems like a really cool group. They a lot of them had big spin kits on and all kinds. They definitely do a good amount of fashion. They have sweepers and ride leaders as well that really keep things together. So it sounds like it's a very well managed group of riders for EZR.
Yeah, so I think I've been doing quite a bit of pace partner riding, and so I get to check out all the jerseys, which I love. And I saw this, and it was the one in the middle that I saw that I took the photo of, and you just know when he's paired the Tron with the yellow on the kit, that I'm you care about your fashion. And so I had to take a photo. And then they're a really cool. So they do a whole lot of group rides, and they've got they help people a lot with injury rehabilitation. So all cycling disciplines, paracyclists, road cyclists, hand bikes, veterans, mountain bike. So join their group rides. So usually kind of a casual to moderate pace. But they specifically call out, that if they're new to cycling or if you're coming back from injury, this is the group for you. So go check them out, because the kit is awesome. So hopefully you get to unlock that one. But they also seem like a really nice group.
Yeah, this is one of their group rides, actually. Got a little bit of film from it. This was from their Facebook group. I asked to join as soon as we put this on. And as you can see, pretty much well held all together here. You see the sweepers and the leaders there all together. And I definitely noticed that they were doing a little bit of extra fashion. Some squirrels out there. Love it that they're riding the buffalo bike, and the big spin there. So just it seems like a great crew. Definitely check out the EZR rides if you're looking for an introductory. I love it that they're all about that rehabilitation. That's a really cool thing.
Yeah, love it.
Well, for the kit though, we got to give it a grade. I'm giving this one an 8.5. 8.5.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I really like but see, that color scheme, I don't know. There's something about that color scheme it pops for me. It really pops for me.
It's like your vision. That's like your vision one, right?
Maybe
it's like
that's
that
why.
kind of
Maybe I'm biased because of that. Yeah, I really like that color scheme. So, and the black on, and the way that the gradient on it too goes from that light to black. I think it, and then the logo right in the middle with that pop with the neon. Well done, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll go 7.5.
There we go. Not bad. Bad. So, all right. Next up, we are going to be chatting now. Zwifters in the Wild is absolutely blowing up right now. It's like we are getting like pretty much like my inbox over the last 2 weeks. If I have 5 messages, well, that's like almost every day. Like for one of the weeks, I've been getting messages, you know what I mean, about people who are in real life meeting up and doing things on their bikes together because they Zwift together as well, which is absolutely awesome. That's the whole ethos of Zwifters in the Wild. Make sure to be using that hashtag. I'll be watching out for it actually on social medias, and make sure to keep messaging us as well. The first thing that we are going to highlight is Chris Hopkinson. He posted just recently, he wins a 24-hour European Championship title, actually. Now, this is his 7th title. I got to qualify the graphic there real quickly. He's won the European Championship 7 times. Not all of them are actually 24 hours. 3 of them have been 24 hours. 3 of them have been 6 hours. And 1 of them have been a 500-mile world championship. He looks like he just rode 24 hours, honestly. But Chris, this guy, he does so much training on Zwift. This guy is like, he was also setting like records on Zwift early on. I think he did one of these rides that was like a week long or something. Like there's some crazy amount of days early on. I mean, this guy is, and I guess that's kind of a theme right now. And you wouldn't think it that like all of these Zwifters, I guess we're a certain type because like they do these, like, right? You just like, I'm going to use the grade forever theme. Chris Hopkinson, 7th European Championship for 24 hours, Unbound, Unbound XL. Like, wait, I thought Zwifting was all about like short Z races. Well, I don't know, man. Like the original crowd, the OG crowd is like these like super kind of type A, go after it, long endurance rides.
I love it. And that picture of him too, like great. I think it's like a hot pink mohawk he's got, and he's got like some sick tats, like all on his legs. Like, what a dude, man. Yeah, no, that was pretty impressive. I think part of it is like, don't you think just sitting on a trainer, like the people who are really into Zwift, probably before Zwift, were sitting on a trainer just looking at a wall, right? So you've got that kind of thing in your head where you just mentally go into some space. So that's probably why you've got these crazy endurance people. But yeah, that's phenomenal. And I know he does a lot of it for raising money for MS as well. So yeah, also for a really good cause. So well, yeah,
speaking of MS, we also have Chris Wallner here, Bike MS Zwift Club. This guy, him and 14 other Zwifters met up at the MS Virginia ride recently. He's also the winner of our ugly sweater competition this last. So he's the guy. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, this guy, he's a huge listener from the podcast. He sent this stuff in. So he started getting involved with Bike MS on Zwift in 2018 when he first got on Watopia. But that picture on the right with the old school Z logo,
I was just thinking
that predates his actually getting into Zwifting, which, you know, Bike MS, you know, has been a huge part of the Zwift family for a really long time, actually. So, and also, if you want to get involved with them, just a quick shout out, you can use a Zwift 24 at bikems.org for all the MS rides to actually get a discount to go and do that and be a part of those charity rides. So it sounds like they've got a pretty cool Zwift crew and group that if you are interested in, supporting the fight against multiple sclerosis, you can get involved and, find fellow Zwifters on the platform actually to go ride with and then meet up with them for in real life stuff. So there's another awesome Zwifters in the wild that is directly connected to the podcast in a really serious way, actually, because this guy I think has listened to like every single one of our episodes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I do remember him being the poor fashion choice because he was the one who listened to every episode and picked all of the fashion items that I'd given like a 2 out or 1 out of 10 and put them all on.
That is right. He knew. Like he knew all of our fashion picks better than we knew our fashion picks.
I know.
Actually. So
it was
awesome.
amazing.
It's really, really awesome. All right. Well, here's some top end racing stuff. Zwifters in the Wild. If you haven't been following along on my Instagram or Gabby's, well, yesterday in Janesville Town Square at the Grand Prix Women's Pro 1-2, Ara Verhaaren won the race. Christina Grossman took the Lowland Sprint leader jersey because in the middle of every race during Toad, literally at the middle lap point, they call out, they ring the bell, and it's a Lowland Sprint. It's $4,000 to the winner at the end of the whole series. And so like if you win the points over and over and over again, if you're the leader, you get to wear that Lowlands kit that Christina Grossman is in on the right-hand side. And then Ariel Verhaaren won the race. Gabriella is first place in the Cat 2, was in the break with Ariel, actually. So, like, and the Pro 1-2 is all raced together. This is Gabriella's first year racing amongst the Pro 1-2s, upgraded to that level, and now got in the break with Verhaaren yesterday after they countered Christina, who actually broke away to take the Lowlands. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was
That's
crazy.
So cool.
It was so cool. So if you like, this is, and make sure if you really are interested in what's happening on Toad, I'll be posting every day. I'm actually doing like 360 videos in my stories during the races, and then like just like giving quick little video prompts. So like, here's what's going on. Here's what's going on. So we'll be there every day. We also saw some shout outs. We posted in a couple of Facebook groups for Zwift, and we saw a couple of shout outs coming out from Amy Barr, who's going to be on site. She's a Zwifter. She'll be on site as a brand ambassador. Actually, they're handing out chocolate milks because you get chocolate milk for free if you come to Tour of America's Dairyland, of course.
Because it's okay. Oh my god, of course.
Yeah, of course. And then we also saw. Go ahead.
One question is, how does this, like, so I watch a lot of women's world tour racing. So where does this kind of fit? Is this like what they'd call like a 2-dot race, or is it a continental race, or what's the kind of,
so there's only one, I think there's only one race that may have some like UCI type stuff involved, but here's the thing with Tour of America's Dairyland. Super Week was prior to this, and we're going old school. Like, there is, if you want to talk like blue blood in cycling, like there's some old school, like the 7-Eleven team gets together for the Bone Ride in May, in the 3rd week of May, to ride the Bone Ride, which is from Milwaukee to Madison and back from Tom Schuler's house. And Tom Schuler is part owner of Tour of America's Dairyland, or at least high up, I think owner. And so like, this is like, people who just love cycling were a part of the growth of cycling in the USA during a time that was like, you know, late 80s, Le Mans, that whole time kind of a thing. Are just like, we know how hard it is to make it. Let's make sure that we make a series that you can come and do something with. So like, I don't know what the background is, and I'm going to just speak as freely here as I can without knowing everything. But I get the sense that like, Toad don't need them, they need Toad.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? But the level that shows up is really high.
Is it televised? Like, can I watch it anywhere?
You know, I was wondering if I should work on that. But I'm already really busy on site. You know what I mean? But I mean, we have Brad Soner is there, you know, on the mic, Todd Bodstead. There's a lot of really, you know, top end names on the commentary. They know their stuff. So, you know, definitely, if you want to be involved in any kind of way with Tour of America's Dairyland, it is definitely high end crit racing downtown in cities, 11 days straight. And they do an amazing job. I would like it to see you get involved in those structures a little bit more. We're involved at that level, at the top level of it. And the only thing we're after is the USA Cycling, you know, points that are within. I don't think the UCI is really involved. It would be cool, but at the same time, the costs go up so much. I think if I read between the lines, to get the UCI involved, that it's like, what payoff is there really to do that for these teams? And I think that's what they really care about, is growing American cycling. So they're like, why would we put that burden on the teams or this whole organization unless the UCI is going to bring a whole lot to the table for North American racing? Because, we've seen quick little bunny trail, like in mountain biking, we brought a lot of UCI stuff here. We kind of still have some, but some of it's exiting again in the last 10 to 15 years. We saw it come in and go. We saw it come in and go now as well when it comes to roads. So it's kind of like American cycling is trying to figure out how to involve itself with European cycling in a way that's meaningful. And it's like, well, do we need to just grow our thing here as much as we possibly can culturally? And then maybe the benefit will come in enough where there's enough people involved that it makes sense to do anything to match it to European cycling,
Yeah. Okay. I gotcha.
Yeah. Well, all right, here we go. Next up, let's do one last thing, and this is going to be our transition here into Unbound. I also one more, because this is an Unbound at the end of our program. Big shout out to Sylvie. How would you pronounce that? I always, the Canadian names, French Canadian, I think that's French Canadian. D'Aoust. Yep, there we go. She did the Unbound XL 562 kilometers. She actually has her own podcast as well. We've both been on this podcast. It's Secrets from the Saddle. You can see she's done, this is Secrets from the Saddle website. She's got her own. She recently did a couple of podcasts specifically around Unbound. It looks like preparing for it and a couple other things. She's got a lot of episodes actually up on there, 368. So she's been at it. Great job to her. Shout out to Sylvie and that she got that done. That XL seems like just a whole nother level.
Yeah. I remember talking to her about that podcast. She was doing it 2 a week for a while. I was like, holy, that's a lot.
Yeah, she definitely was pumping them out, and great job to her on all the content that she's creating, and it's a great transition into Unbound XL. Let's go ahead and bring in our guest. Are you going to take off? You got to go?
Yeah, sorry, team. I've got soccer early this morning, so I got to go, but I will listen later for this interview with Pookie because I'm excited to hear about his Unbound journey, but I'll leave it to the two of you.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Anna. Anna's going to take off, everybody. We might just have her blank box here for a little bit. We'll see if we can work on that. Bring in Pookie here. Calling him Pookie because you have a Twitch channel called Pookie, but that's where I first met you, Aaron Shoemaker? I want to say Shoemaker.
Yeah, Shoemaker, just like it sounds.
Right on. Great to have you on the program here. Chat is like, bring on Pookie. Obviously, I think you've got a pretty good following over on Twitch because of that. I think if anytime that you go live, I think you're one of the top Twitch streams actually when it comes to Zwift. So, I mean, how long have you been at that?
Well, I think I started back when lockdowns were in like full swing, 2020. I think it was like the end of March, beginning of April time was like when I really started jumping into Zwift. I found it as a form of rehab for a knee surgery that I was recovering from, and someone just recommended, hey, why don't you try out Zwift, see if that helps it out a little bit, see if it helps you with your recovery and gets you moving quicker.
Right on. So a little bit of background on you real quickly. How long you been cycling for, Zwifting for, and you're a media producer in real life. So Zwifting, I think 2017, I want to say you've been around like from almost the get-go.
I really started out actually in the mountain bike scene, Nathan, which you probably would not have guessed, but I was into doing enduro riding a lot. I live really close to the Sea Otter Classic, so I would jump over there, do the enduro every year and stuff. But then I started to have some health issues that kind of took me out of that more like type A type of riding, the more aggressive, more, I guess, injury prone, I guess, and shifted more towards road cycling. And about 2016 is really when I would say I kind of really got into cycling, like road cycling and things. And I started out in ultra touring. My first real adventure on a bike was a coast to coast, California to New York by bicycle, self-supported, fully loaded. And I did that kind of right out of college as like a little break from all the schooling and everything for the years. And that's really what made me fall in love with cycling in general. And then, due to some health conditions that I face, I mostly had to shift to inside, and that's where I found Zwift in around 2020.
Well, that's pretty amazing. Like that this kept your cycling going, would you say then, in some ways, with this discovery?
Nathan, honestly, it kept my life going in a lot of ways, man. My genetic condition, it's called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and it basically takes the connective tissue in between your joints and turns it from more of like a elastic of like a rubber band to more like the consistency of chewing gum. So I basically, most of my joints have very little padding in them, and it's kind of what pushed me into cycling to begin with, is it's, low impact, and it allowed me to basically keep my level of fitness high enough that the condition I face is manageable. And so more than just a small thing, I contribute Zwift and attribute it as one of like the key factors to, me keeping going and being, in the place I am today. Who knows where I'd be? I mean, my surgeons back in the day said that I would most likely end up assisted walking with a walker, a wheelchair by this point. And now I'm doing 200-mile bike rides.
Wow. I want to dive in there just a moment, and then we'll get into Unbound, because this is your stream where you go live. I love this intro that you have. Twitch.tv/PookieButt. He's got this great fun intro. I absolutely love this as he gets going. You've got a good setup with a green screen. You chat a little bit with your chat. From your perspective, your personal perspective, of like when you get going live then though, as far as how much live streaming and Zwifting has added to your life experience then of cycling alongside of your condition, like, could you speak to your emotional connection to that and how you think about it a little bit? Because like that just hit me in what you just said about that you have this circumstance and how this factor added to your circumstances actually enhanced your life.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, being able to combine Twitch and Zwift was especially significant considering the time that it happened. I mean, this was lockdowns. A lot of us people who are used to being outside a lot and interacting with people, we had that outlet taken away from us. And I needed to find that socialization somewhere. And so I just started streaming. That was back when the category maybe saw, at least at that time, like 2, 3, 5 people at the most. But, just having one other person to talk to, or at least even just a wall to kind of talk to, it adds a lot, at least for me.
That's so awesome. And so when you go live then, like, this is my community, this is my people, and like they're on this journey with you. I in some situations because I'm seeing chat blow up right now. Like ZMS Esports are here, this Peter's here, the SW place is here, Don't Get Dropped Cycling, Nile Beatty. I mean, the moment that we went live, bring on Pookie, let's go. Like, I just get the sense that they're on this journey with you too. You know what I mean? And they really, really can feel like, and I think there's something to that when somebody takes on a challenge like you're taking on, including Unbound, but also like with what you're saying, how you're using cycling, like they can relate to that because everybody has something, right? In some sort of way. And to see someone do it in an extraordinary way, I think is that much more inspiring. And so it seems like you built a pretty cool community around that.
I mean, Twitch is a pretty cool place. I mean, it really highlights the grind. You get a track record and you can like go back, you can see where you've been. It's a day-to-day, almost like a video log. You can see your progress. You can see the ups and downs. It's not just like a lot of YouTube content where you get the highlights, the best bits. No, with live streaming on Twitch, at least what I've experienced, like you get everything, the good, the bad, the whole picture, and it's real. Like you can actually, you know, connect to people that way. And I that's where I found like kind of the magic in it, is that you truly get to see the real side of someone's progression. And I think that's lost a lot of times online.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in on that comment just a little bit, because if you want to get into live streaming, you got to make sure that you can do the same show over and over and over again. If like you create an expectation about what the show will be, what the live stream will be. And if it's too highlighted, if it's too VOD type content that's edited, because you can be edited live, right? Like you can create a show in a way that you are self-editing on the fly all the time. But if you can't show up with that all the time, you'll burn out really quick, especially if it's not fairly natural, right? And so I think that's a good point. I think when you see a lot of the streamers who've really made it longer term, and even in our little Zwift community, the streamers who have made it longer term, I think there's an authenticity that has to come along with it, because like keeping that show up can be really difficult over a long period of time. And I also think that even at the top end, when I look at the streamers I still follow that have 9 to 5 to 20K viewers at any point in time, the ones that have just done what they're authentic with, I think in some ways have, even if their personality is a highlight show anyways, it's still their personality, if you know what I mean. They were able to keep that grind going in some sort of ways. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but.
You know, I agree. And I think that's one thing that kind of makes Zwift a little unique, is that when you're, above threshold for, an extended period of time, it's kind of hard to put on a face, the real you will come out at some point. And so if you're putting a mask on, that will be taken off.
Yeah, 100%. The masks have come off 100% during my Twitch streams of Zwifting, especially when the heart rate is high. Oh man. Some of those. Wait, do I delete this VOD or don't I? That's what, do I leave this one up? I don't know if I leave this one up. Yeah. Oh boy, yeah. No, it's
again though. At the same time, Nathan, people respect the realism, man. They like to see, it's not just rainbows and butterflies all the time. Sometimes it's hard work, and again, that's the benefit of the live streams.
Totally. Well, okay, let's get into Unbound. The reason I brought you on is I was actually following along on Instagram. I noticed while you were out there, you were posting, and there was this like beat the sun idea kept on coming up, which I really like to see. And you had, I didn't actually know that you were going for Unbound until I started seeing you posting. I was like, oh my gosh, Pookie's there. Okay, cool. And then I didn't get the idea. I was like, after you got it done, I was like, oh, cool. Like the Zwifters in the Wild thing is happening. Unbound is happening. It's kind of I was watching a lot of the highlights from Lifetime Grand Prix, and it was a big buzz. I was like, well, how are we involved in this? Well, duh. Pookie's totally involved in this. He was there, and so I was like, perfect opportunity. And also to get a little bit of an insight of somebody who did it, from what I see, did it well, did it prepared, and accomplished some awesome goals in the middle of some things in a way that perhaps is different yet the same to the pros. Because I think a lot of people are watching, what's going on with Keegan? Oh my gosh, Lachlan Morton won, all that kind of stuff. But also I think there's this relation to there was thousands upon thousands of other people who did this. And I mean, to give you guys an idea real quick here, here's a little bit of a start line from Pookie's Unbound. It looks like, let me see here. There's a little bit of video. I'm going to see if I can.
Back there, so it's going to be a long time of making a lot of noise when the time is right.
6:28 a.m.
1 minute from now.
what was the
not the earliest start?
Go ahead.
It's as of I think 2022 or 2023. The age groupers start about a half hour later, which also makes it even better that I got to my achievement of beating the sun, because now you have about 30 minutes less to do so, which for me might have actually, I was right on the deadline, so it could have made a difference.
Oh, wow. Gotcha. So, okay, before we get into the actual race, I just wanted to give an idea of how many people right there were a part of all of this. And like the reality, it's not just the pros, and let's back up a little bit and let's go to preparation. Okay. I want to talk about leading into Unbound. When did you decide to do this?
So, I only have really had the awareness of Unbound around me for maybe since 2023. And what really stuck with me was I saw all the videos come out from the Mudpocalypse. And everyone, by mile 11, most of the bikes had been basically demolished by the mud. And when I started seeing that is actually the kind of stuff that made me kind of take it more seriously. Like, oh, okay, this is something I'd actually might be interested in. Whereas, some people might have seen the disaster of 2023 and be like, oh, screw that. I'm not going to, sign up for this type of race. But that was the type of thing that drew me in. I was like, wow, this is real. And, not like a curated thing. I think I want to give it a go.
Right on. So 2023, want to give this a go. How do you go about planning that then? Because you actually, like, it looks to me like brought in, did you end up at buying a new bike specifically for this? Or were you able to use what you already had because you were already, an ultra cycling enthusiast? Did you have to do very much research and just what's my equipment going to be?
Yeah, the equipment was definitely a major concern. Originally, I had planned to do it on a bike I had built with my brother, based off of an aluminum frame from Walmart that we had picked up, surprisingly. We stripped it off. We set it back up with
You're
new.
Going for a Walmart bike?
Yeah, no, seriously.
Oh my gosh.
Seriously, yeah, we had a Walmart frame made by Kent. We picked the entire bike fully built for $120 during Black Friday. Took off the drivetrain, dropped the steel front fork, put carbon front fork on it off of Amazon, threw some Empire drivetrain on it, and everything was coming together. But then about 3 weeks before go time, there was these little things that were starting to cause some serious issues with the build, like sourcing a derailleur hanger, because one of the major mechanicals at Unbound is a broken derailleur hanger. So I was having trouble with that literally 2 weeks before Unbound, trying to source a backup derailleur hanger that wasn't just the pot metal one from Walmart. And it was just I was having issues with adapting my race wheels to it. And then about 2 to 3 weeks beforehand, I just said, this is not a good idea, not for a race like this, from everything I've heard of it. So I ended up purchasing a bike, not just for the event. I purchased it for the event, but this is a bike I've wanted for a long time, and that I'll be probably doing a lot more gravel races on in the future. So
this is the bike. You want to give us a little bit of information about it?
Sure. This is the Lauf Segla. Lauf is an Icelandic brand. They're direct to consumer. And I first was aware of their company when they produced, if you look at that front fork, it might look a little odd, and that's because it has glass fiber leaf springs. So the suspension is more of a leaf spring setup, and it has about 30 mil total suspension on the front. And the first time I saw this fork, and this was before Lauf even produced the bike frame, I was like, that is just the craziest thing ever. I want one. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's how they started.
A couple years later,
if I can just interject real quickly, anyone in the mountain bike world that was a serious rider when we were really, really weight weenies, prior to fully being the main thing, wanted to at least check one of these out. They were they showed up at Eurobike and Interbike and was like, what is that? And so I think I even put in a proposal to these guys at one point for a fork sponsorship early on. It never went anywhere, but they have done a really good job of expanding into the market, in my opinion.
Totally. And it was actually pretty wild how many other Seglas I saw out there on Unbound. I must have seen a couple dozen of them. And, I was looking out for them, but still, they were very common.
So what? So there's that. That's what you got is the Segla, and anything else you'd like to highlight here about your setup while you're planning to go into this? I mean, you got double, triple bags there on the frame, plus what's happening there on the frame?
Yeah. So there's a couple. There's that top bag and then the frame bag, but the one back near the seat on the top tube is actually a roll-out hike-a-bike backpack. So you can roll it out, attach the shoulder straps to the orange little straps that are around the down tube and the chainstay, and you can literally throw it on your back like a ruck. And so when I saw that everyone was having all those issues with mud, I was like, well, let's see if there's a way that I can, kind of, get around that so that I don't have that issue. And so I was like, I'll just find a way to carry my bike if I need to through the mud. And so that was on there. I didn't end up using it, but if I had needed to, I think it would have come in pretty clutch.
That's pretty cool. So you could just like put your bike on your back and not have to like hold it with your arms as much. Like it would just be strapped to you. You'd strap your bike to your back quickly and easily.
Exactly, and both your hands are free. You can climb things if you need to. You just have more freedom of movement.
Wow.
With it strapped there. But I didn't end up using it. And a lot of people commented that I looked very over-prepared, but I'll tell you what, if I needed any of that stuff in there, I would have been happy that I had brought it.
Gearing? How's your gearing there? It looks like 50. Is that a 52 in the back there? What is that? Like what?
Yeah, 1052. That's the new SRAM GX. So I'm running it in a mullet style with the road shifters, 1052 and a 40 in the front.
How'd
I
it feel?
did start to spin out a couple. I spun out a couple times, but most of the time when you were building speed, it was through rolly sections. So you were mostly just like pedaling up to speed anyway, and then coasting. So honestly, for me and my power profile, it worked great. I probably touched the 52 maybe once or twice. I know I touched it once on one of the particular technical sections called Little Egypt, which is kind of known in the world of Unbound as being one of the more challenging sections of the course. But other than that, I think a 46 would have still got me through easy.
And any upgrades to the bike or changes to the bike outside of the additions that you made after you got it? Any other customization, like wheel set or anything? Like what did you do? I mean, you had this whole Walmart thing going on. 3 weeks out, you get this loft bike, and then what quick swaps or anything did you make or none?
Yeah. So these wheels were what I was planning to run on the other bike. The only major issue I had with that was that I had to figure out different drivers because I was originally going Shimano, and then when I went over to the SRAM mountain bike system, they use a different free hub driver. So had to, luckily the wheel company that I was using, 9Velo, these are 9Velo wheels. They have every part imaginable to swap your wheel set to any type of frame. You can do quick release, through axle, any driver. You just slap it on with an adapter. It's actually a very customizable wheel set.
Nice.
And but other than the wheel set,
is it just a different the adapter? Is it just like a different not bolt on, but like snap on in the back, and it's just a wide enough hole that any driver can come through, or like how does it work on those?
Yeah. Basically, it's like a 15 millimeter axle. So you could you can adapt it down to 12 millimeter with these little end caps, or you can go down to the quick release system with more end caps, and then. Yeah, it was really nice because I contacted the company in a bit of a panic. You just pop on a different driver
when it comes to the hub, right? Like you can spin on.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Industry 9 was like that too.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's good when they do it that way, and it's not so proprietary because oh man, it can be a headache on wheels. I've been there, Pookie. I can like feel the like oh no, do I have a bike? Like I get it.
No, dude, and that's the thing is this is pretty new for me. All of this level of customization on bicycles is very new to me. So it was just like I felt like I was just running into head first into a wall every turn I made. It was a very good learning experience. We'll just leave it at that.
So like doing Unbound is like also a tooling up about like what do you need to take on this kind of terrain for this amount of time in a bike, and like getting the bike to where, I mean, even if you were to buy like the nicest high-end brand, you're still going to have to be doing a good amount of research, right? Like you built this one up, but let's say you did just go ahead and buy whatever the latest Trek or Specialized or whatever it is, boom, and you'd still have a good amount of work to do to make sure everything's prepared. I mean, I was listening to a podcast the other day, Payson McAlvin's podcast with Pete Stetner was on, and they were like, you know, the pros who came over from Europe didn't do that well, except for Greg Van Avermaet, because Greg took it seriously. That's what they were saying. They were like, he was the only one that did his homework. Everyone else just like jumped on whatever the latest thing was, did a little bit of research, and most of them didn't end up finishing. And so like you ended up finishing because you did your gravel homework like Greg Van Avermaet did his gravel homework.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different style of riding. It's just now started to kind of come into the world of like team racing. I mean, it's still very young. It's very pure. And I think a lot of people really don't know what to expect getting into it, especially, you know, when they come from being very successful in maybe another field of cycling, and they figure that'll just translate over. And, you know, maybe for some of them it does. Like you have, you know, Keegan, who came from mountain biking. So like, you know, going to gravel was probably, you know, a pretty easy move for him.
The mountain bikers get it, Pookie. You know, the mountain bikers get it. How, because we've had to deal with so much, like, and how much it matters, like tires and all this, like, hey, like, you can't just jump on the road bike and it's all smooth road. Like there's all kinds of circumstances. And I think in gravel and the distance is even more so that it's a very specialized discipline. Yeah. And that was one of the things that was really coming out recently is of a lot of the chatter that's been trying to make itself a known statement. Like this is the truth, that it's its own discipline. And like these markers of like, you can't just show up and rock up from another discipline. Like you have to actually know what you're doing in this discipline in technical ways in order to even be able to finish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know what? I personally find enjoyment in that planning process and taking a couple months of like really just refining your system down. I had, luckily this was like not my first like experience into like building this setup, as well as my coast to coast ride. I'm also a Tour Divide finisher. So I've done the Great Divide mountain bike route from Canada to Mexico, 90% off road. So it's basically, that was gravel before gravel was gravel.
See, if you want to finish
things like
the winner
Unbound.
and you just like, there's all these comparisons made. There's all these comparisons. I mean, Lachlan Morton wins Unbound, Pookie finishes Unbound before the sun. I mean, is there a relationship here?
You know, if I can be compared to Lachlan Morton in any way, Nathan, I will take it, man. He's a legend.
All right, let's talk about preparation and training. Like you're a Zwifter, Twitch streaming, that whole thing. Was that a big part of your Twitch streams and your live streams and like getting ready and your Zwifting? Or was there like, how much could you do there versus like, no, I got to be outside on gravel and like doing other stuff? Like, can you make a 50-50 percentage-wise comparisons?
Yeah. Don't tell anyone, Nathan. I did 0 gravel riding before Unbound.
Oh my God.
Don't tell anyone.
Really?
I barely did any outdoor riding. I was mostly on Zwift until I would say the last just over 3 weeks when I headed out. I spent the last 3 weeks, or the 3 weeks leading up to Unbound, I was out in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is just south of Emporia. So it was a really quick jog up there. Luckily, I had family out there that could host me for a little while. And it wasn't the only time I went outside really was to kind of get heat acclimated. So, and even then I would sometimes just set my Zwift setup outside, not without a fan, and just, dealt with the humidity and dealt with the environment. But yeah, even then, I probably only got in 8-10 rides outside before Unbound.
The heat training's huge, that's for sure. Did you do any indoor heat training specifically for this?
So yes, technically, I moved my indoor setup outside because during that period of time, Oklahoma was about 80 to 90% humidity at about 80 to 90 degrees.
But you didn't heat
Fahrenheit.
up the house
So
actually specifically to do heat training at all or anything.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't do that. I just spent a lot of time outside.
Gotcha.
And I'll tell you, it was nice because the conditions at Emporia were much more moderate, much more ideal for, honestly, it's being considered the greatest conditions of any Unbound ever. So
wow,
there's really no
nice.
complaining from me.
Nice. Well, greatest conditions, real quickly. Let's go ahead and show a little bit of this greatest condition. There was some mud. Now, this isn't all of the course, it sounds like, but what is Oh, wait, did you go? You didn't go. I didn't watch this through. Is there swearing? Are you gonna go down?
No swearing.
God.
No, you're good. Don't worry. That's all.
Man.
that was nearly all the mud from the entire ride, right?
Really?
There
So it was
shot.
a good.
There
It was
probably
one other. Pretty good year.
It was the fastest year on record. I mean, people talk about the North Course as being this infamous thing, of being just another level of challenge and difficulty, and it was definitely, but it was also the fastest year on record. Lachlan Morton and the second place finisher both came in
it's Chad
15 minutes
Haga?
under the course
Chad
record.
Haga?
Yeah, Haga. Yep, Chad Haga. So those two that had the breakaway that ended up finishing first and second. They both came in as new record holders. So it was fast.
Well, before we get into, I want to get into your actual experience and then a little bit of a takeaway from it. But to stick on training just for a minute, though, in the preparation, what kind of training, what kind of hours are we talking about? What kind of workouts are we talking about for a mainly indoor program to finish and beat the sun?
Mm-hmm. I'm not very educated on training systems, and I don't have my own coach. I basically just do what I like to do, which is just mostly low power for long periods of time, and I basically maybe added a couple hours a week on top of that. So I went from about 8 hours a week to about 11 or so for a couple months leading up with some rest weeks built in. But it was very, very lax, and luckily I already have a very decent base because I've probably been relatively consistent since the end of 2021 when I had my hip replacements, which was basically the last time I was taken off the bike for an extended period. So luckily I had most of the fitness, and since I wasn't racing, I wasn't looking to, build my top end much. So I just continued what I did and just added a little on top of it.
Can we just qualify that with if you are not already an ultra endurance cyclist, doing 8 to 10 hours a week at low intensity for, just kind of casually may not get you prepared for Unbound, and also that Pookie is an absolute legend. So.
Well, I don't know. I'm stubborn. I'm stubborn, and I can be a bit of an idiot. And when it comes to the mental struggles that you face on a race like Unbound, those qualities can be gold.
Yeah, gotcha. I mean, you can get prepared. I shouldn't say you can't get prepared. I just, somebody who's coming from let's go wow, Unbound's cool, off the couch. I don't really ride my bike, never done something like this before, or I'm kind of weekends only kind of a thing, and then jumping right in. I just don't want anybody to take this away and be like, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna just do the Pookie program. You know what I mean? I don't know if they would. Results may vary. Carson's coming in with a little asterisk in there.
Exactly, and that's the truth of it. This is a very significant challenge, and it's not something, I mean, there were a lot of first timers who've never done something like this. And I think there is the benefit that you have, what is it? You have basically, you only have to hold about a 10-mile-per-hour average. So in order to be an official finisher, I think the cutoff is like 3 a.m. or something like that. So you do have a lot of time, but at the same time, that's more time out on course, which is more time in the environment, more time pedaling. And, you know, I'd like to just shout out a lot of those people who finished, you know, just before cutoff. It's like, yeah, you look at the pros who finished in 9 hours, but they're done in 9 hours. They still have time to go grab dinner and things. You had hundreds of people that finished, you know, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2 in the morning, and just, you know, putting in 20 hours plus on the bike or so that's just impressive. And so whether it's, you know, a challenge for, you know, the pros or the amateurs, I think it's just a different challenge, and it's challenging on either side of the coin, whether you're racing or, you know, trying to just be a finisher to begin with.
Now let's go ahead and talk about the actual ride itself. Did you have a pit or support crew at all? I am seeing we do have a video here of one of the pit stops coming through. It looks like here, and I'm just wondering, like, did you just use the? Well, you know, people there saying hi to people.
Oh yeah, Kerry Warner.
Oh,
one of the gravel pros who wasn't racing that day.
You saw?
Yeah,
Kerry
he was
Warner.
just chilling with the Bike Flights van. Yeah.
Ah, God, he didn't
So I was
race.
like, "Oh, Kerry, what's up?"
Did he not race?
No, he was just there working for Bike Flights. I think I saw him out on course probably like 4 or 5 times shooting video.
Actually, that's funny that, like, I know him really well too. Like, we've been racing. I have a picture of me and Carrie sprinting to the line on mountain bikes from like 2009, I want to say, or 2000 or something, in Colorado at one of the Pro XCTs that were, I can't remember what city we were in, but anyways, like, we've been racing that guy for years, many years. But that's hilarious.
Carrie's
like,
awesome. I love his stuff. I love his content. I met him through Frank Deal, who's one of the community members, and so that's how I know Carrie. But yeah, back to your original question, the support stops. So there were 2 support stops, and if you are going to participate in the Unbound 200, you are required to have a support crew. You cannot do it self-supported. If you do the 350, the XL, that is a self-supported race. But the 200 has two official support sites, as well as 2 neutralized water stations that they call water oases. And but the actual SAG stops where I got to meet my crew were at mile 70 and 150. And I had my brother out there, and honestly, shout out to him. He was a freaking legend. We had many comments saying that, like, this rivals some of the pro setups, and it's like my brother he pulled out all the stops. I even had the ability to take a shower at the stop if I wanted to. He brought his camper in the back of his truck. It was honestly amazing.
Did you take a shower?
No. When I got to the second stop where I was kind of considering maybe doing like a kit change or something, I was too close to the beating the sun time. I knew that I could still do it, and I wasn't able to do it if I was going to be hanging around the support stop for too long. So I set like a hard stop time that I was going to leave, and I left when that time hit. And luckily I did so, because the last 50 miles was a pretty rough segment. I
saw that story you posted, and I could tell you were like, as I was following along, you were like, I'm going to sit here for like 10 or 15 minutes, and I might be able to beat the sun, and it's like consuming as much as you could, it seemed like, but I think I could tell, like, your early videos, it's always like that, it feels like, too. It's like, we're doing good, it's all right, da-da-da, and then, like, toward the end, it's like, we're kind of in a bad place. I can kind of tell, like, you were questioning things at that point. But just as far as the numbers go, real quickly, this is your Strava: 202.09, 13, 14, 55, 11,200. Historic effort for you at 410. 6,710 kilojoules. Your training load was 549. Wow. What did you have to consume to get that done?
So what I used, I used gels for my fuel source. I'm not a fan of carbs in my bottle. I like to keep my water separate from my fuel. So I was using SIS beta fuel as my main fuel source, as well as Cliff shot blocks, the sour ones, to kind of help with like the sugar fatigue, which I'll tell you what, that came in so nice near the end after eating all those gels. Like having something sour to eat was just like a lifesaver.
Really? Sour? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So sour, just to break up the sugary taste a little bit. So I had that. I had 2 liters of water on my back in a bladder, another 500 mil on my frame, which I actually didn't end up touching. So that's probably a bit of an annoying carry for the whole time, basically carrying an extra 500 mil of water I never use.
Yeah, what is that? Like
then I did
2
have
kilograms, I want to say? Maybe? Kilograms?
Oh,
too?
man. If it's 2 kilograms, I definitely
I think it's 1. I think it's maybe not. Maybe it's a pound.
Man.
Maybe I'm overestimating that, but I feel like there was a good amount of weight there.
Well, it's definitely more weight than I needed to carry, and that was a bit of the theme of my bike. There was definitely, by the end, because I was able to get through without any mechanicals, any major issues. Most of the stuff on my
half
bike
a kilogram. It was only half a kilogram, so about a pound. Like just so you know, it's about a pound.
Yeah.
Not that big of a
so that
deal.
was annoying.
Not huge.
But then I also had a 24-ounce bottle on my frame that I had a mixture of grapefruit juice, pink sea salt, and Delta G ketones. And that was kind of my concoction that I feel like that was just a spectacular mix in my opinion.
Grapefruit
I had a great time
juice,
on that.
ketones, and what was the other thing?
Pink salt.
And pink salt.
Yeah, pink sea salt.
That's a new one for me. Where did you just make that up? Like you were like, well, these things seem good from like your point of view, and like the sour thing is obviously with the grapefruit. Sea salt, people are using the pink sea salt, and people are using the ketones. Well, these all seem like good things. Let's see how they taste together.
Yeah, and it's definitely something you want to have a chaser with, because if you've never tried ketones before, it's straight up like drinking battery acid. It is not enjoyable in any sense of the word. But the reason I chose grapefruit juice was because it has very low sodium content, so that's why I added my own. I was able to basically add my own level of salt to my desired, concentration. And then the grapefruit juice also contained a really decent balance of magnesium and potassium, and in low dosage. So it was like if you just added salt, it was just a great all around electrolyte drink. And I like grapefruit juice, so it was kind of nice having something that I knew that I could palate, and then just topped it off with the ketones. And it worked really well. I don't think I had any issues with salt, any issues with really any hydration or anything. I think my only real problem was I was slightly underfueled.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's always kind of, I think, the big one. It's whether or not. But
yeah,
I wonder about that idea of like something new. Like when you have the same thing over and over again on a ride like that, you get sick of it. And I wonder if like the jolt of something that different also kind of makes it more palatable, or at least you able to consume it more, rather than that same thing where your stomach's just like, dude, I don't want this anymore. Please change it up.
Totally. And if you already have issues with repeated flavors or repeated textures, like it can literally be the only thing you'll be able to eat later on, switching from a gel to solid, to real food, and back and forth. It's with ultra riding, it's a game of eating. And if you can't eat, if your digestion shuts down, then the race shuts down.
All right, let's. I want to quickly show a couple of these pictures here. Here's your finish. Is that everybody get one of those little medals? Is that what that Unbound medal?
That is the finisher. Yeah, that is the finisher medal. There, the distance isn't printed on there, but what you do get is basically another little award and like a sticker and some things to show that you did the 200. So yeah, there's the Race the Sun badge. That is the true award, in my opinion. That little iron-on badge.
Yeah, and we got a little video of you here. We beat the sun. Looks like you're pretty happy about that. You're like, you did it.
Oh man, it was.
You must have been so pumped. You must have been so pumped.
The euphoria after doing something like that is unmatched, and I think that's one of the reasons I'm drawn to this type of activity.
100%.
You know, you hit some of the darkest places you can imagine, but also some of the brightest places you can imagine.
Yeah, let's give a quick little look here. Some of the this was some of the somebody's doing slow motion. I don't know why.
Oh yeah, some was in slow motion.
Some of them came through in slow motion, but that's the look of a lot of the hills of Kansas here. This is your finishing coming in.
Yeah, baby! Woo! Yeah,
Oh man, I was definitely stoked to be done.
yeah!
Oh, that's so awesome. You can hear it in your voice
Yeah.
there. You can hear it in the voice, the cheering, beating the sun. Huge accomplishment. I wonder what that feeling, thinking about that feeling of like both. I've got that goal. The sun's going down and then it's dark. If it were to be dark, like, oh, well, and then you're still going to finish, but it's like, well, you didn't, but you did that. You beat that you made that and you didn't have to experience that. Like, all right. And you get to have that. Where are you going to put the sew on? Where's that going?
Yeah, I haven't decided yet. I do have this sticker that I'm going to be putting on the bike, the Lauf at some point, the 200-mile sticker, but I don't know what I'm going to do with the patch yet.
Right on. So, okay, takeaways and other ultra stuff coming up. Let's go like takeaways from the race, other ultra stuff coming up, and then like what's happening with your streaming after Unbound? Like, what was the recovery like and stuff? Like, what was the, afterwards? Like, how long did you not ride the bike for? Did you ride right away?
So in previous ultras I've done, I've been wrecked afterwards, but for some reason that something happened on this one. I was back on the bike putting out threshold watts 3 days after the ride. I don't know how, but I guess it was just the whole routine, the recovery and everything. Once the initial soreness went away from the effort, which took about 2 days, I was mostly back, and that was probably the most startling thing of the entire experience. I thought I was going to be dealing with some of the recovery for weeks, potentially certain things, but I'm happy with what I was able to get out with.
I think it's a preparation thing. Honestly, like looking at how well you prepared, when I was watching how you were eating, stopping, like the way that you took this on, I think, just to give you some credit there, I think that you stayed ahead of things enough that, I mean, I don't know if you saw the GCN video last year when Connor tried doing it and it just fell apart for him, right? Completely. I think that you just came in really well prepared and stayed on top of it and didn't overshoot too. I think that some people overshoot, and your consistency there is what got you actually to your goal. That's what it sounds like to me. And then that consistency paid off the following days with not being completely wrecked because you didn't overshoot.
Yep. I think my highest wattage 20-minute power was like 191 watts. I tried to stay like completely within myself the whole time, which is really tough because I think there were nearly 1,100 people on the start line for the 200 this year. So having those people just shoot off right away as soon as the neutralized vehicle leaves, it's just you really have to be like, nah, I'll most likely see you guys later.
Did you catch a lot of people? Did you catch a lot of people?
Yeah. I think my first time check had me around position 650, and I finished around 320. So I passed a lot of people.
Whoa! 1,100 take off. You kind of let most of them go, and then you end up in the 300s. Like you passed like 700 people, dude. That's insane,
dude. I was not expecting to do as well as I did. I beat my original time that I had set for myself by over an hour. I was not expecting to come in before the sun set. Like that was not even on the table until I hit the first rest stop at 70 miles, and I got there like 45 minutes earlier than I had originally planned. And I was like, wow, this might be possible. And somehow I pulled it off. I don't know how, but you know, we
tortoise
did
in the hair, 100%. So cool. So, okay. Now what? Is there something that's next? Are you like, are you going to go back and, or what? What are you thinking on the ultra side? Like what's happening on that front?
Well, I definitely have plans to go and do the 200 again next year. And my hope is that I can get some more people in the Zwift Twitch community involved with it. See if we can get some more signups for it, maybe. So that's kind of my thing, is if I can like maybe get a crew out there this next time, I might be trying for that.
Maybe we got to think about that. You know, gravel is one of our goals next year. So, maybe this is the thing.
If you're looking into gravel, if you're looking into gravel, that's the spot, man.
Yeah, we're really thinking about it. We're really
as-
thinking about it. You know, doing a lot of road this year, and then maybe applying for Lifetime Grand Prix. So then we have to do gravel, right? So we'll see how it goes.
Oh man, I just think Gabriella would just flourish in the Lifetime series. I mean, we've already seen her put up some impressive results with some of the field who race there. So I think that she's going to absolutely love it.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how this year goes. A lot of planning and everything, but come September, August time, we'll have more solid plans. So, okay, cool. Going back to Unbound, you enjoyed it enough. It looks like it didn't like that you'd actually want to do it again. It wasn't just a one-off bucket list. It sounds like, no, this is something that's a little bit more part of your life in a way now.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, it was kind of the revitalization of my love for ultra riding in general. But there's still another challenge. If you complete the Unbound 200 5 times, you get a special 1,000 mile achievement award. So maybe that's in the cards for the next coming few years.
That sounds like a great idea. Here we go, 5-year plan, everybody. Okay, so
there
then
it is, right there. Just got to get past the raffle.
Are you streaming then? Right now, like, are you still doing streams? Are you still riding Zwift? Like, what's happening right now?
I am. I'm now back settled into California, which is my main place I'm based out of. Now that I'm out of Oklahoma, so I've got my normal streaming setup back here, and I took about a week or so off after Unbound of streaming and did some just off-stream rides and some outdoor rides. But yeah, I'm back at it. I stream Monday through Thursday most of the time, 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Pacific time.
Right on. Awesome. So guys, everybody, you need to go check out Pookie. Definitely you're very interactive. I'll say that. If anybody's in chat and you want somebody to talk to about Zwift and stuff, man, I've noticed anytime you come in, immediately you are a part of a conversation, which I absolutely love about your streams. Amazing job on the Unbound there, especially on the training that I just heard from you, as well as like the way that you prepared for it. I mean, you really came in and that's a big accomplishment, hugely. And obviously, plenty of people in the community that absolutely love your streams. So thanks so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. This is going to be it for us though, everybody. As Anna obviously had to take off a little bit early, but it's pretty easy to find Aaron Shoemaker, twitch.tv/PookieButt. That's where you will find him. We will be back for episode number 95 in 2 weeks. If you didn't hear, there's also another podcast that's kind of been around from somewhere. I don't know, this thing called the Zwiftcast that is coming back that I think will be launching soon. So be on the watch out if you are a part of the Zwiftcast listeners group over on Facebook. You'll see some updates coming in from Simon Schofield about that. So make sure to go check that out. But this will be it for us for the wrap for episode 94. Thanks everybody for tuning in. If you are, again, one last thing on the Toad, if you are in the Wisconsin area, we'll be in West Allis tonight. Make sure to check out all those. And come say hi to us for sure. But Pookie, thanks a lot for jumping in with this episode for number 94. We'll see you guys all for number 95. Again, as a reminder, this is a podcast. Search The Wrap and Zwift. You should be able to download the audio. We'll get that up in the next 24 hours or so. Well, this time from Aaron and I, as always, right on.